infectious energy of the ambitious college student who thinks that he or she can change the world. The jitters on that first day in the job when you're presenting and you're the only minority in the room and everyone is judging you. The frustration at your 15th reunion when your white peers have passed you by. And your dreams are starting to slip away. And you're not sure that you can put your finger on what went wrong. And you start to believe that you weren't that talented in the first place. That's the emotional career trajectory that far too many people of color are on in this country. And those are the lucky ones. The folks who have been able to beat the odds to get a college degree. As a social entrepreneur, I've dedicated my life to figuring out and understanding why, and to putting people on a different trajectory. Because I believe strongly that we are stalled on our journey to put the American dream of economic mobility in the hands of people of color. And we're stalled not because of the folks that oppose this ideal. We're stalled, ironically, because the folks who are most committed to it, our enlightened philanthropists, our business and community leaders, our politicians and policymakers, our entrepreneurs of all races, the folks who are most committed to it are misreading where we are today, and as a result, are not adopting the strategies that can move the needle. Now, we have made progress over the last 3 decades. We've opened up access to college much more broadly to minorities. We've opened the doors to our major corporations and the best employers. We even have a robust diversity inclusion infrastructure across all of our institutions, and notable high-profile CEOs of color, a few billionaires, and even our first African-American president. But those gains have not translated into the economic picture that we envision for us. Over 60% of Black and Hispanic 4-year college graduates end up unemployed or in jobs that don't require a college degree. Minority college graduates have 20% of the wealth of their white college graduate peers and only 75% of the wealth of those of whites who didn't attend college. People of color are still few and far between in our major institutions. And 40% of Americans are one paycheck away, one missed paycheck away from being below the poverty line. In order to break through this impasse, we've got to come to grips with a few misconceptions that are holding us back. I want to talk about 2, and the first of which is commonplace among those who are leading our major institutions, our companies, our universities, and even our nonprofits. And it goes like this. Those leaders believe that the underrepresented minorities that they do have in their organizations have the same day-to-day experience as their white peers. And especially if they've gone to the same schools. And if you believe that, then the assumption is that it's a level playing field. And guess what? When it's a level playing field, those who have the most talent rise to the top, they advance, and those that don't have that same level of talent don't. They get left behind. And that's the essence of a meritocracy that we believe we have in our institutions, right? Actually, not so fast. At the end of the day, it's much more complicated than that, and we know that. but it's hard to explain. It's hard for but how do we explain to the white male executive, the enlightened white male executive, that what it feels to be the one of a few, to be the only person in the room? What is that feeling? And how do we get them to understand that when you're one of a few, it has real performance implications? So what I like to do is turn to my white colleagues and ask them how it actually feels when, on those few occasions where you have to venture out onto the dance floor and show your stuff. And when you have to do that, I ask them, so what are those feelings? Okay, and interestingly, what they tell me, the words that come out are almost always the following. And these are from the words that come out from my white colleagues that don't enjoy dancing, okay? The words are awkward, zero confidence, want to get away, being judged, uncoordinated. And the good news for them is their dancing skills will never influence their career trajectory. But for people of color, those same words capture exactly how we feel in every meeting of every day for our entire career. And when you feel that way, guess what? You have a harder time embracing constructive feedback. You're hesitant to take risks. It's harder to develop mentor relationships. And think about how draining it is every day to compete with your white peers who actually spend 0% of their time thinking about and feeling in the workplace that dance floor experience. And the stakes are really high. They're so high because when it comes to people of color, our performance evaluation, our career trajectory, and our economic stability all rest on our ability to get over that dance floor feeling and develop that genuine confidence that we belong before we make enough mistakes that brand us as an affirmative action mistake, as not high potential, and not an A player, a B or a C player. So what are the lessons from this? What we've got to do is enable our white leaders to get proximate to that feeling of what it is like to be one of a few. And when they do, they'll adopt smarter strategies that actually will move the needle on diverse talent, but just as important, they will realize that it's not diversity that threatens their meritocracy. It's not diversity that compromises excellence. It's a flawed approach to diversity that compromises excellence. The other misconception I want to touch on is widely held among philanthropists, it's widely held among policymakers, and even our best K through 12 education reformers. And it goes like this. If minority low-income students get to college, then they are no longer vulnerable on the path to economic mobility. We can declare victory, and we don't need to continue to invest in them because they're going to be okay. Now, how can that be true if 60% of us each year end up, when we come out of college, end up underemployed or unemployed? And also, how can that be true when those same philanthropists that are declaring victory for lower-income students who get to college, when those same philanthropists and policymakers, when their kids get to college, they're calling all their friends and asking them to lean in to help their kids get internships, jobs, mentoring, advice. So they're doubling down because they understand intuitively that a college degree doesn't guarantee and doesn't ensure that their kids will realize their full potential. So we need to invest. So we are totally ignoring that last mile to those college degree jobs that close the deal on economic mobility. And that's undermining our K through 12 investments that are really important and very robust. College access, college affordability, and college persistence. So only when we embrace a level of higher expectations for other people's kids, the same level that we set for ourselves, only then will we embrace a cradle-to-greatness approach to propel people of color to their full potential. Once we understand the nuances of the current realities today, then we can ask ourselves, what are the big questions? Okay, how do we tackle them? How do we put low-income minority college students, how do we get them off the tightrope to those college degree jobs? How do we make sure that the folks who do get into the professional world don't get lost? And then what's the big deal on economic mobility? Well, guess what? The big deal in economic mobility is standing right in front of us. It's staring us in the face. And it draws from the only place in our society, the only area where, regardless of your economic background, regardless of what you look like and your ethnicity, if you have talent, and if you're willing to work hard, you don't get lost. And that's the sports world. And when we think about how we develop athletic talent, there are three key things that drive these outcomes. And interestingly, none of these three things exist in the rest of the world outside of sports, where 99% of us pursue our economic mobility. First, in the sports world, we've democratized access to high accountability coaching at every stage. And I'm not talking about occasional mentoring. It's high accountability coaching, and we give it to the fifth grade rec athlete, the high school athlete, the college athlete who's trying to become a pro, and the pro at every stage of their career. In the professional world, we don't give you any coaching until you're already a senior executive and you have some issues. Second, in the sports world, we make it really clear what you have to demonstrate to get to the next level. And we have real-time feedback mechanisms so that you're very clear what you have to demonstrate to hit that bar. In the professional world, we make it really hard to understand what high performance looks like, what that bar is. We're terrible at giving feedback. And the only folks that get the memo in time are the ones who have friends and family who are already at the next level and are successful. So what if we took what we've learned from sports? What if we took that and those two things and a third, which is the importance in the sports world of when you're an athlete, we surround you with an accelerating network that supports you at every stage of your career. What if we take those three things and we apply it and we provided that sports approach to every young person on their path to economic mobility? What kind of big idea would that be? Well, it's not a pipe dream. We're actually doing it already. That's what we're doing in my organization, MLT, as we're providing low and moderate income college students and young professionals with the high accountability coaching at every stage, with the high performance playbook so that they hit the bar to get in those great organizations and advance over the course of their careers. And we do that in conjunction with the employers who actually set the bar. And we surround our young people with an accelerating and supportive network that's 8,000 strong. We have a statistically validated model, and we're placing 98% of our college students in the high trajectory jobs that average $70,000 a year, and which is immediately delivering economic mobility to their families. And we're working with 1,500 students a year, and we're transforming their career trajectories, and we're also transforming the talent pipelines of the 150 major organizations that we work with. But we're just one organization, and we're working a few segments of our population. But I'm convinced, after working at this for 15 years, that we and other organizations who are tackling economic mobility, if we apply and scale what has worked in sports, I'm convinced that we can get to a place in our nation where no matter what you look like, and no matter where you come from, you don't get lost. That's my American dream, and I invite you to make it yours as well.